The outer colonies lived in quiet peace for almost 100 years. People worked, laughed, and built new towns under bright suns. Children in those colonies heard stories about an ancient human defense force called the Dragon Corps. Many believed these stories were nothing more than old tales with big names and bigger heroes. They did not think such warriors still existed. Life felt too calm, too safe. No one imagined danger hiding in the far darkness, but danger came. It began with broken signals. 3 colonies on the far edge of human space went silent within a few hours. At first, the communication teams thought the problem was a simple system fault. Maybe it was an old transmitter. Maybe solar storms blocked the channels. People always search for small explanations. No one wanted to imagine the worst. Then rescue drones arrived. The first drone returned damaged, with half its cameras melted. The second drone showed broken buildings and ground turned black like burned glass. The third drone captured something far more terrifying: empty streets with no bodies. No signs of struggle, nothing left behind except strange scorch marks. These marks did not match any known weapon or natural phenomenon. It looked as if something had passed through the colony like a shadow made of fire. Fear spread quickly. Even the bravest workers could not deny what they saw in the drone footage. Something had attacked the colonies, something fast and unseen, something powerful enough to erase entire towns in minutes. The United Human Directorate gathered for an emergency meeting. Government leaders spoke over each other, their voices full of panic. Sensors picked up faint energy signatures near the destroyed colonies. Those signatures matched an old record more than 80 years old. Many leaders refused to believe it. They called the record outdated, unrealistic, exaggerated. But one person in that room recognized the truth. Admiral Rio Solari stood at the center of the hall, her face calm but her eyes sharp. She was the commander of the Dragon Corps, the legendary defenders of humanity. She had trained soldiers across all human systems. She had fought battles that most people did not even know existed. Her voice cut through the noise when she finally spoke. "This is the work of the Veyrak," she said. A cold silence fell across the room. The Veyrak were more myth than history. They were a cruel alien species that hunted entire civilizations. They used strange technology that let them appear out of nowhere. Old records claimed they had been destroyed long ago. Many younger leaders believed the Veyrak had never existed at all, but Admiral Solari knew better. She had studied every old battle report. She knew the shape of their attack patterns, the burn marks left behind, and the speed of their raids. Everything matched. "They have returned," she said, "and they have attacked our people." The leaders exchanged fearful looks. Some wanted to argue. Some wanted to hide behind more excuses. But Admiral Solari stepped closer to the center table. "We do not have the luxury of doubt," she said firmly. 3 colonies have fallen. We must act now. One of the directors spoke with hesitation. "Admiral, the Dragon Corps has not been deployed in decades. Many citizens believe it is only a symbolic force. Do we even have the strength to respond?" Admiral Solari stared at him. "The Corps never slept. We trained, we prepared, and we stayed ready. Humanity may have forgotten us, but we have never forgotten humanity." The room grew quiet again. For the first time since the meeting began, people stopped panicking. Some leaders finally felt a small spark of hope. Another director asked, "What do you need?" Admiral Solari answered without hesitation. "Authorization to mobilize the Dragon Corps and all deep space battle groups, and full emergency rights to strike back immediately. We cannot wait for another colony to fall." The directorate argued for an hour, but the images from the drone footage kept replaying on the main screen. Darkness, fire, empty streets. In the end, fear pushed them to the only possible decision. They gave Admiral Solari full command. As soon as she received authorization, she sent out a coded signal. Across the human systems, old listening posts activated. Hidden hangars opened inside asteroids. Deep space stations powered up. Many citizens did not even know these hidden places existed. The dragons were waking. In a secret shipyard orbiting a gas giant, Massive warships powered on. Their hulls glowed with faint red lines like the outline of ancient dragon scales. These ships had names whispered by soldiers with pride: Emberwing, Talonfall, Starfire, and others. They were built for one purpose: to defend humanity at any cost. Inside the main command ship, the Starfire, thousands of soldiers ran through tight corridors, preparing for deployment. They checked their armor, tested their weapons, and recited old vows taught to every member of the corps. We do not strike first, but when struck, we end the threat. Admiral Solari walked through the command deck. Her officers stood straighter when they saw her. She was not the kind of leader who sat behind a desk. She had scars, experience, and a strong sense of duty. "Report," she said. Her second-in-command, Commander Yalan Ward, handed her a data tablet. "We have full confirmation that all 3 colonies were attacked within a 4-hour window. No survivors found yet. There are also faint energy readings near the border. It looks like the Virak are still moving." Solari studied the data. "They are testing us. They want to see how slow we react." Ward nodded. "And they think we have grown soft." Solari looked out the viewport toward the stars. "They think wrong." She knew the Virak strategy. They always attacked quickly, always targeted the weakest points first, always tried to break spirits before breaking defenses. But humanity was not the same species they had met 80 years ago. Humans were smarter, faster, and more united. And the Dragon Corps was stronger than ever. Hours later, the Starfire fleet moved into position. Engines roared softly in the vacuum as the ships lined up in perfect formation. The sight alone could inspire courage in any human who saw it. Solari activated the fleet-wide communication channel. "Dragons," she said, her voice calm and strong. "3 colonies have fallen. Families have disappeared. Innocent people have been taken or killed. We do not know how many more the Virak plan to attack. But we do know this: humanity stands together. We will defend every world, every family, every life." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The enemy thinks we are weak. They think we will run. They think we are still prey. But they have forgotten our promise. When anyone harms our people, we do not hide. We rise." She looked across her officers. "We are the dragons. Today we wake." The fleet responded with a unified signal tone that echoed through the ship interiors. The dragons were ready. As the fleet jumped into hyperspace, the stars stretched into bright lines. The engines hummed with power. Humanity had taken its first step toward war. No one knew what they would face. No one knew how many would survive, but Admiral Solari had no fear in her heart. She only felt determination. The Virak had attacked human colonies. Now, humanity would answer, and the dragons would lead the way. The Dragon Corps' fleet moved through hyperspace like a silent storm. The ships stayed in tight formation, their engines glowing with steady light as they crossed the dark reaches between human colonies. Inside every ship, soldiers trained without rest. They understood the truth. If the Virak could destroy 3 colonies in only a few hours, then humanity did not have a moment to waste. Admiral Ria Solari stood on the command bridge of the Starfire. The room was filled with soft blue screens, quiet hums from machines, and officers moving quickly between stations. Every detail mattered now. Every signal, every unknown object, every small change in the stars could be a sign of danger. Commander Yalan Ward stepped to her side. He looked tired but focused. "We are approaching the edge of Greenpoint Haven's system," he said. "Long-range sensors are active. So far, no threats detected." Solari nodded. "The Virak attacked nearby colonies. They will come for this one too." Ward sighed. "Then we need to be faster than them." Solari looked at him with calm determination. "We will be." The fleet slowed as it left hyperspace. The bright tunnel of light around the ships faded into normal space. A beautiful star system unfolded before them: green planets, thick asteroid belts, and one shining colony world in the center. Greenpoint Haven. It was a peaceful place, built by human families who wanted quiet farms and clean air. Many of the people there had never even seen a warship. They lived in hope that the galaxy would remain kind. Hope was not enough anymore. The Starfire scanned the colony. Quiet, no attack yet. Civilian transport ships moved slowly around the atmosphere. The people down below had no idea how close danger was. "Begin evacuation procedures," Solari ordered. "Get the civilians to shelters. Move the transport ships to safe zones behind our fleet." As commands were transmitted, the officers worked quickly. Messages reached the colony, alarms sounded, and people rushed toward protective bunkers. Some panicked. Some cried. Some refused to believe the warnings. But most listened. Solari watched the screens carefully. Her instincts told her the Virak were close. She was right. The first sign appeared as a faint distortion near the edge of the system. A small ripple, barely visible. Then another. Then 5 more. The officers gasped as shapes began to form. Slip-rift signatures. An officer shouted, "Multiple." The distortions tore open like cracks in space. Dark, angular warships slid out, their hulls glowing with pale blue streaks. They moved with a strange silence, their engines making almost no visible heat. These were Virak raiders, fast, deadly, and trained to strike without warning. "They're here," Ward whispered. Admiral Solari's voice was steady as stone. "All ships battle positions. The dragons rise." She stepped forward. "Prepare the ambush." The Starfire fleet had arrived early for one reason, to stop this exact attack. Solari had predicted the Virak trajectory using old battle patterns and incomplete data. It was a risky guess, but it had brought them here in time. The Virak fleet moved straight toward Greenpoint Haven, unaware that the human forces lay hidden behind the colony's moon. "Maintain silence," Solari ordered. "Do not reveal our position. Let them get closer." The enemy ships pushed deeper into the system, their formations tight, their intent clear. They wanted to strike fast, steal survivors, and leave before any human force could respond, but this time humans were ready. Commander Ward clenched his fists. "Should we attack now?" "They're almost in range." Solari shook her head. "Not yet. Wait until they pass the lunar shadow. We attack from behind. The element of surprise must be perfect." Seconds felt like minutes. Minutes felt like hours. Then the Virak ships crossed the shadow line. "Now," Solari said. The Starfire fleet decloaked instantly. Dozens of massive ships appeared at once, their hulls glowing like awakening embers. The sudden emergence shocked the Virak. Their ships spun in confusion, trying to reorganize. "Fire all forward batteries," Solari commanded. Human warships unleashed a roar of light and energy. Red and white beams shot through space, striking the nearest Virak cruisers. The enemy ships shuddered under the sudden attack. Their shields cracking, Virak commanders reacted quickly, sending fighters forward and firing unstable plasma bolts. But the dragons had trained for this moment. The Emberwing, a fast strike cruiser, moved to the front of the formation. Its engines flared bright as it launched fighter squadrons. The pilots flew in sweeping arcs known as dragon dives, a maneuver created decades ago to confuse enemy targeting systems. Small human fighters zipped between the Virak ships like sparks of fire, firing missiles and guided lasers. 3 Virak interceptors exploded in seconds. The Talonfall, a heavy destroyer, moved into position next. Its kinetic shields glowed dark red as it rammed straight into a Virak cruiser. The impact shook both ships, but the Talonfall remained stable. The Virak ship split in half. Drifting into silence, the dragons were proving their name. Commander Ward tracked the battlefield. "Admiral, their formation is breaking." "They were not expecting us here." Solari nodded. "Of course they weren't. The Virak believe humans only react. They never expect us to predict their moves." A fresh wave of enemy fighters approached the Starfire. Solari turned to her weapons officer. "Focus fire on the nearest cluster. Break their advance." Bright streaks shot from the Starfire's guns and tore through the fighters. Explosions lit up the black sky, but the Virak were ruthless. More ships came through the slip rifts. Bigger ones, heavily armored. The sky darkened with the presence of a large command vessel. "Admiral." Ward whispered. That's a dread class. We've only seen one of those in old reports. Solari narrowed her eyes. Then we end it today. The Varak Dread-class ship moved forward, its weapons glowing with dangerous energy. If it fired at the colony, thousands would die. Target its main gun, Solari said. We cannot let it charge. The Starfire and its support ships focused their fire on the Dread-class. But its shields absorbed much of the impact. The enemy ship fired a massive bolt of plasma. It streaked across space like a comet. Brace. Ward shouted. The plasma blast hit a human frigate on the left flank. The ship exploded instantly, scattering burning debris. Solari's face hardened. Shift formation. Protect the transports. Keep firing. We bring that monster down. The battle continued with growing intensity. The dragons slowly pushed forward, using skill, strategy, and relentless courage. Human pilots destroyed enemy swarms. Heavy ships shielded the colony. Engineers worked frantically to repair damaged systems. After 20 long minutes, the Dread-class ship began to weaken. Its shields flickered. Its engines dimmed. Solari finally gave the order. All ships, concentrate fire on the core. Finish it. The combined attack from the dragons hit the Dread-class with overwhelming force. The ship cracked open, releasing a burst of blue fire. Then it exploded in a blinding flash that lit the entire system. Silence followed. The remaining Varak ships panicked. Without their command vessel, they lost coordination. Some tried to flee. Some continued fighting without strategy. Admiral Solari wasted no time. Push forward. Do not let them escape. This must be a complete victory. The dragons surged ahead. Ship after ship fell. The last Varak raider tried to retreat into a slip rift, but its generator overloaded and tore itself apart. When the battle ended, the space around Greenpoint Haven was filled with broken metal, drifting pieces of enemy ships, and the quiet hum of victorious human engines. The colony was safe. Commander Ward sighed with relief. We did it. They're gone. Solari looked out at the battlefield. Her expression was calm but fierce. This was only their first wave. They will attack again. And harder. Ward nodded slowly. But today, we showed them who we are. Solari placed her hands behind her back. Send a message into open space. I want every species, every traveler, every enemy, and every ally to hear it. Ward prepared the channel. Ready? Solari spoke clearly, her voice strong. To the Varak and to anyone watching, humanity does not break. You attacked our colonies. You stole our people. And now you have awakened the dragons. We will not run. We will not hide. We will strike back, harder than you can imagine. This is our promise. The message echoed through space, across human systems. People replayed it again and again. The dragons had risen, and the war had only begun. The battle for Greenpoint Haven changed everything. News of the Dragon Corps' victory spread quickly across human space. People who had been afraid now felt hope again. Some cried when they saw the recordings of human ships protecting the colony. Others cheered when they heard Admiral Ria Solari's message. For the first time since the attacks began, humanity believed they could win, but Admiral Solari did not celebrate. She knew the truth. The Varak would not stop after losing one fleet. They were a species of hunters. When they tasted resistance, they did not retreat. They returned stronger. Inside the Starfire's command room, the lights were dim as officers worked on their consoles. Everyone moved with quiet urgency. The space outside still held pieces of broken enemy ships, drifting slowly like dark reminders of what had happened. Commander Yalin Ward stepped beside Solari. Repairs are underway. Most of our ships can return to full strength within a day, but a few took heavy damage. We will need more time for them. Solari nodded without looking away from the main screen. We do not have much time. The Varak will not forgive this loss. They will want revenge. Ward sighed. I agree, but we did save the colony. That matters. Solari finally turned toward him. Her expression was calm, but her eyes held a sharp focus. Survival is not enough. If we only defend, we lose. We must understand their plan, their movement, and their technology. If we fail, we lose the next colony. Ward paused, understanding what she meant. So we hunt them now? Solari gave a small, confident nod. Yes, we hunt the hunters. The Dragon Corps began gathering data from the battlefield. Engineers studied the broken Virac ships, scanning their metal, their engines, and their weapon fragments. Human technology was advanced, but the Virac used strange materials and unknown systems. They had weapons that bent energy in unnatural ways. Their engines left almost no heat trail. Their slip rift generators allowed them to move through space like shadows. One engineer came to the bridge with new information. Admiral, we found something unusual in the wreckage of the Dread-class ship. It is a shard of what looks like a navigation core. We believe it contains partial coordinates. Solari raised an eyebrow. Coordinates to where? To another Virac fleet, the engineer said. A bigger one. And it seems they are heading toward another colony. Silence filled the room. Ward stepped forward. Which colony? The engineer hesitated. Greenpoint was attacked in the past, this time. They are heading toward a newer colony. A peaceful farming world called Brightreach. Several officers exchanged worried looks. How long until they arrive? Solari asked. Maybe a few days? Maybe less? Their slip rift paths are unstable. It is hard to predict. Solari looked at the star map. Her mind moved fast, planning, analyzing, calculating. We cannot wait for them to strike, she said. We take the fight to them. We cut off their attack before it reaches Brightreach. She turned to Ward. Prepare the fleet. We track their trail and intercept them in deep space. Ward saluted. Yes, Admiral. Hours later, the Dragon Corps' fleet began its pursuit. The Starfire led the formation, followed by Emberwing, Talonfall, and the other warships. They moved through star systems with silent speed, following the strange energy trails left behind by Virac slip-rifts. During the journey, soldiers trained harder than ever. They knew the next battle would be worse. The Virac had seen humanity's strength, and the next fight would not catch them by surprise. In the Starfire's fighter bay, pilots practiced formation drills. Their helmets reflected the bright lights as they climbed into the airships. Each pilot carried the same thought. Protect the colonies, protect humanity. One young pilot, Lieutenant Erin Halle, checked her fighter's wings carefully. She had survived the battle at Greenpoint by only a few inches. Now she felt the weight of what was coming, nervous. Another pilot asked. Erin smiled weakly. Only a little. But I trust Admiral Solari. If anyone can lead us through this, she can. The pilots nodded. They all felt the same. Meanwhile, Solari and Ward examined the enemy movement patterns. The more they studied, the more they realized the Virac were not only attacking, they were testing. They wanted to see how fast humanity could respond, how strong their defenses were, and how coordinated the Dragon Corps truly was, but the Virac had made one mistake. They underestimated Solari. After hours of silence, the sensors officer suddenly spoke. Admiral, I am detecting something ahead. Slip rift activity. But different. It is unstable. Solari leaned forward. Show me. On the screen, a swirling tear in space flickered wildly. It was larger than the ones they had seen before and glowing with strange colors. Ward frowned. What is that? It looks like a damaged rift. It is, Solari said quietly. The Virac are pushing their slip rift engines too hard to reach Brightreach quickly. They are risking unstable jumps. That means they are in a hurry. The sensor officer spoke again. There is something else. I am detecting human escape pods near the rift. Thousands of them. Solari's face hardened. Survivors? The officer shook his head. No life signs? They look drained. Empty, Ward whispered. The Virac took the people from those pods. Solari closed her eyes briefly. The Virac harvested living beings. That was their way. They took populations for their dark purposes. We cannot let them take another colony, she said. Not one more. The fleet moved forward, following the unstable rift. Suddenly a large Virak ship appeared from the swirling colors. It spun out of control, trailing sparks and dark smoke. It is damaged, Ward said. The unstable rift tore it apart. The Virak ship drifted, helpless. Solari seized the opportunity. Prepare boarding teams. I want everything we can learn from that ship. Dozens of armored Dragon Corps soldiers moved to boarding pods. Their boots clanged against metal floors as they entered the launch tubes. When the pods fired, they shot through space and slammed onto the damaged enemy ship. Inside, the soldiers found dark corridors filled with strange glowing patterns. The air was cold and thick with unfamiliar odors. The ship felt alive, as if the walls were breathing. One soldier pointed at a dark substance on the floor. What is this? Another answered. It looks like Virak blood, but mixed with something else. As they moved deeper, they found strange chambers. Some held alien machines. Others held empty cages. The worst was a large room filled with ghost-like shapes, after-images burned into the walls. Evidence of human lives taken. The team leader spoke through the comm. Admiral, this ship was a harvesting transport. It looks like they lost control of the jump. Many of the Virak aboard did not survive. Solari listened in silence. Then she said, Search for data cores. Anything that can tell us their next move. After a long search, the soldiers found a glowing crystal-like device deep inside the ship. It pulsed weakly, almost like a heartbeat. We found something, the team leader said. It looks like a memory core. The device was brought to the Starfire, where human engineers worked carefully to open it. After hours of effort, the core finally revealed its information. Ward leaned forward. What does it show? The engineer swallowed hard. A map, not just of the next target, of all their planned attacks. And Admiral, it is far worse than we thought. Solari stepped closer. Explain. The Virak are not sending one fleet, the engineer said. They are sending many. They want to break human space completely, starting with the outer colonies and moving inward. The room fell silent. Ward clenched his fists. How long until they launch the full attack? Soon, the engineer whispered. Very soon. Solari stared at the map. Her voice was steady, but filled with fire. Then we do not wait for them, she said. We strike first. We follow their path. We cut off their fleets. We destroy their slip rift generators. We stop this war before it reaches our people. Ward nodded. This will be dangerous. We will be fighting on their terms. Solari replied, Humanity has no choice. If we do nothing, they will take everything. The fleet turned toward the coordinates from the memory core. The engines glowed brightly. The ships vibrated with power. The dragons were hunting now. As the Starfire jumped into hyperspace, Solari spoke quietly, almost to herself. You attacked our colonies. You stole our people. Now you will face the fury you awakened. The stars stretched around the fleet. The true war was beginning. The storm above the damaged colony world kept flashing with bright white lightning, and each strike revealed the broken buildings, the burned ground, and the fear that still lived in the shadows. But the humans who stood near the forward camp were no longer afraid. They had seen the power of the awakened dragons. They had witnessed strength that no human fleet had ever shown before. And now they believed they could win. Every soldier, scientist, and engineer worked without rest. They knew the next battle would be bigger than anything they had faced yet. Commander Rhea moved between the groups, checking on each team working inside the half-destroyed hangar that had become their temporary base. Her face was tired, but her eyes were sharp. She knew there was no time for weakness. When she spoke, people listened. When she gave orders, people moved. She had earned this respect not through fear or strictness, but because she carried the weight of every colony that had fallen. And she refused to let another fall. The dragons' massive biomechanical war creatures, made by ancient humans, were recharging after the last battle. Their bodies glowed faintly like living star cores, and their breathing echoed through the hangar like distant thunder. Even at rest, they felt alive, purposeful, ready. They had been hidden for thousands of years, sleeping deep under the crust of human worlds, waiting for a threat strong enough to justify awakening. Now that they were awake, they were learning again. They were remembering. And they were choosing to fight. Rhea walked toward the largest dragon, the one the soldiers had started calling Titan. His long wings rested on the ground, folded like metal mountains. His head alone was larger than a tank. When he opened his eyes, the blue light inside them glowed softly, like a sleeping star looking back at her. You felt it too, Rhea said. Their fleet is gathering. Titan did not speak with a voice. His words came as vibrations inside her mind, a deep and steady presence. Yes, they are preparing for a final strike. They wish to break your remaining colonies before your fleets arrive. Can we stop them? She asked. We can try. But we must move before they do. Rhea nodded slowly. She already knew the answer. Waiting would mean losing more innocent lives. Moving now meant risking everything. But humans had never avoided risk when the future of their people was at stake. Soldiers approached her from behind. One of them, Captain Yalin, carried a datapad full of fresh scans. Commander, long-range sensors picked something up, Yalin said. A formation of alien dreadnoughts. They're heading toward the colony on Vernus. 4 civilians are still trapped there. Rhea closed her eyes for a moment, steadying her breath. She had hoped for more time. But time was never a gift in war. How many hours until they reached the planet? She asked. 11 at most. Probably less. Rhea looked up at Titan again. His eyes had already sharpened. The dull glow inside them grew brighter. We go now, she said. Prepare the dragons, prepare the dropships, and get every fighter pilot into the air. We're not losing Vernus 4. Yalin saluted and ran off to give the orders. Inside the hangar, engines roared to life. Lights flickered on the control panels. Mechanics rushed over the hulls of the dropships. There was no room for hesitation. Everyone felt the pressure of the coming battle, and it pushed them to work faster. When the dragons rose, the air trembled. Titan spread his wings, and the metal plates along his spine glowed with fire that looked like a mixture of plasma and ancient magic. The other dragons, Stormia, Emberline, and Shadowcrest, followed his movements. Together they made a formation that felt like something pulled from legend. Rhea climbed onto Titan's back, her armor locking automatically into the saddle-like support. We fly, she said. Titan leaped into the sky, breaking through the clouds as the other dragons followed behind him. Dropships launched beneath them. Fighters soared ahead. The entire force moved as one dot as they reached space, stars spread out around them. The damage from past battles still marked the region. Burned ships floated silently, reminders of colonies that had fallen too quickly before help could arrive. But now, humans were done losing. The alien dreadnoughts appeared on the sensors like dark red shadows. Their hulls absorbed light instead of reflecting it, making them look like drifting voids. Each one was big enough to destroy a city. Rhea studied the enemy formation. They're already in attack range of Vernus 4. Titan folded his wings close. We must break their front line. The dragons accelerated, their bodies glowing brighter as their cores increased output. The human fighters followed in tight formations behind them. When the enemy ships noticed the incoming force, they tried to reposition, but it was too late. Titan reached the first dreadnought and slammed into it with a beam of blazing white fire. The blast cut straight through the alien armor, something no human weapon had ever managed before. Stormia circled around the second enemy ship, releasing a crackling surge of electric energy that wrapped around the hull like a net. The ship's systems overloaded instantly, and it exploded from the inside. Human fighters darted between the giants, firing at smaller enemy escorts. Their shots tore apart the fast-moving alien interceptors that tried to reach the dragons. The aliens responded with heavy beams of red energy, sweeping them across space like giant scythes. But Titan and the others dodged between the attacks, moving too fast, too fluidly, almost as if they had fought these enemies long before humans even existed. Rhea held on tightly as Titan twisted through the void. She could feel the heat building under his scales. He was pushing himself harder than before. Titan, conserve your power. We can't lose you, she said sharply. Human, we will not lose. Not today, he charged at the largest dreadnought in the enemy formation. The enormous alien vessel began powering its main weapon, a cannon that could wipe out half a planet with one shot. Light gathered inside its core. Rhea's eyes widened. They're going to fire on Vernus 4. Titan roared, not with sound, but with raw fury that echoed through her mind. Not while we still fly. He unleashed a massive beam of pure white fire. It crashed against the dreadnought's front armor, pushing against the charging weapon. The ship tried to stabilize, but Titan kept pushing. Stormia and Emberline joined him, firing their own attacks. The combined force overwhelmed the dreadnought. The charging core destabilized, then collapsed in a blinding explosion. The shockwave shook the entire battlefield. Human pilots covered their eyes as their screens flashed white. Dropships shook from the energy blast. And the dragons held their positions, wings spread like shields. When the light faded, the dreadnought was gone. The remaining enemy ships began to retreat. They scattered, jumping into subspace or fleeing toward the edge of the system. The human force did not chase them. They had already won. Rhea looked down at the blue planet below them, Vernus 4, still untouched, still alive. We did it, she whispered. Titan lowered his head slightly. This is only the beginning. The enemy will return, stronger. Rhea nodded. She knew he was right. The battle proved humanity could fight back. But it also proved the aliens would not stop. But humans had dragons now, dragons born of ancient technology. Dragons tied to human survival, and they were ready. Rhea looked toward the stars where the enemy had fled. Let them come, she said. We'll be ready when they do. The victory at Vernus 4 brought a short moment of relief, but it did not erase the fear that lived deep inside the hearts of humans. Everyone knew the enemy was not finished. The alien fleet had retreated, not surrendered. They would return with more power, more ships, and more hunger to destroy what humanity had rebuilt. The dragons knew it too, and their bodies glowed brighter each passing hour as if preparing for something far greater than the last battle. Commander. Rhea stood on the command deck of the flagship Horizon Wing, staring at the star map floating above the table. Red markers spread across the galaxy like growing wounds. Each one represented a system the aliens had either attacked or were preparing to hit next. The only safe zones were the ones where dragons had flown into battle. Captain Yellen stepped beside her. He held a report in his hand but did not speak immediately. He knew she needed a moment. She had barely rested since the fight at Vernus 4. Her eyes were sharper than ever, but exhaustion clung to her shoulders. Rhea, he finally said, the scans from deep space just came in. You should see this. She exhaled and nodded. Show me. Yalen turned on the main display. A new reading appeared, massive, dark, and pulsing. It was like a black storm moving through the starfield. That is not a fleet, Rhea said quietly. It's something else. Yalen swallowed. It's the enemy's flagship. Bigger than anything we have ever seen. Bigger than any dreadnought from the last war. And it's heading toward Earth. For a moment, neither of them moved. Earth was not just a planet. It was the symbol of humanity. Losing it would shatter everything. Rhea's jaw tightened. Prepare all fleets. And wake the dragons fully. Tell Titan I'm coming. She turned and marched toward the hangar, her boots echoing through the metallic hallway. Every step felt heavier than the last. She remembered standing on Earth's soil as a child, looking at the sky and dreaming of becoming a soldier. She never imagined she would one day defend that sky from extinction. When she reached the hangar, Titan was already awake. His wings spread wide, glowing with a fierce white fire. The other dragons, Stormia, Emberline, and Shadowcrest, stood behind him in a perfect line, their bodies humming with ancient power. Titan lowered his head as she approached. You have seen it. Yes, Rhea answered. The enemy is bringing their strongest weapon. We need everything you have. You shall have it. The dragons lifted off the ground as humans rushed to their stations. Alarms rang across the fleet. Dropships launched. Warships powered up their engines. The horizon wing trembled as all systems activated at maximum capacity. The journey toward Earth felt long even though the ships moved faster than light. Rhea stood beside the observation window, watching streaks of stars warp past them. She thought about her team, her people, the colonies they had lost, and the ones still fighting to survive. She knew this would be the final battle. And if they failed, humanity would fall. When the fleet arrived at Earth's orbit, they saw the alien flagship. It looked like a monstrous fortress carved from a dead star. Dozens of giant red eyes pulsed across its surface, glowing like watching demons. Its size dwarfed even the largest human ships, by all stars. Someone whispered over the comm. Rhea didn't waste a second. All ships formed defensive line around Earth. Dragons, move ahead and target the front armor. Titan roared, releasing a wave of energy that echoed across space. The dragon shot forward, glowing so brightly that even the darkness of the enemy flagship could not dim their light. The first strike came from the aliens. A massive beam of red energy fired from the center of their flagship, cutting through the void like a burning blade. Human ships dove aside. One destroyer wasn't fast enough. The beam tore through its hull, splitting it apart. Rhea winced but kept her voice steady. Stay focused. Return fire. Human battleships launched volleys of plasma and missiles. They hit the flagship, but the alien armor absorbed everything like water swallowing stones. Commander, our weapons aren't breaking through. Yalin shouted. They're not the ones who will break it, Rhea said. Titan and the dragons slammed into the enemy shield. Their bodies radiated heat and ancient power. Titan opened his jaws and unleashed a massive beam of white fire. Stormia added bolts of electric fury. Emberline sent waves of molten heat. Shadowcrest released a pulsing dark energy that twisted the space. Around the enemy hull, cracks began to form. The enemy responded with dozens of red energy beams. They targeted the dragons, trying to burn them out of the sky. Rhea held on as Titan twisted through the attacks. The heat was intense. Even protected by her armor, she felt it. Titan, don't take all of it, pull back, she shouted. Titan ignored the order. He pushed forward, glowing brighter, channeling more power than he had ever shown. Human. This is our purpose. The flagship's main cannon began to power up again. Its core pulsed with massive red light. If it fired, Earth would not survive. Rhea's heart pounded. Titan, we need one final strike. Then she felt something different, something powerful moving through Titan, a memory, an awakening, all dragons. Now, Stormia, Emberline, and Shadowcrest formed a circle around Titan. Their energies merged, swirling together in a massive vortex of light. Titan took it all, absorbing their strength, their fire, their power. His entire body turned into a blinding white star. Rhea shielded her eyes. Titan, what are you doing? What must be done? He shot forward like a comet, piercing through the enemy armor. He reached the core of the flagship, the heart of the alien power. The core tried to resist, glowing dangerously, preparing to explode outward. Titan released everything. A burst of white light consumed the flagship. The explosion spread through its entire structure. The giant vessel cracked, split apart, and collapsed into burning fragments. The shockwave was so massive that even Earth's sky lit up for a moment. When the light faded, the alien flagship was gone. The dragons floated silently. Exhausted but alive, Rhea's hands trembled as she touched Titan's side. You did it. Yes, but this is only the spark. Humanity must rise again. With or without us, dialed through tired eyes, we will rise. Because of you. The battle was over. Earth was safe. For the first time in a long time, humans had hope, not because of ancient weapons, not because of lost technology, but because they refused to fold. As the fleet regrouped and the world celebrated, Rhea looked at the dragons resting above the planet. They were not weapons of war, they were guardians, and as long as they flew, humanity would never be alone again.